This time I'd like to call the meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to order at 1 p.m. Machine is open for roll call. We have 9 members present. Mr. Black is somewhere in the building. If we could please stand for the prayer.
We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for the parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all, and for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray that we will be spared from all harm and destruction this hurricane season. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to kind of jump around a little bit on the agenda. If we can move to item 3, please.
Status report by the Port Executive Port Director.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board. I am Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, and follows is my Executive Director report for the reporting period of 23 August to 26 September. During this time frame, we conducted beneficial cargo owner meetings in the 2 sister inland ports of St. Louis and Memphis. These meetings were very well attended by state and local governmental agencies, as well as beneficial cargo owners, customs agents, and freight forwarders. The response of these meetings has been extraordinary, and we, that is PPHTD and American Patriot Holdings, are busily following up with these attendees. We conducted a community outreach program in the community of Ironton this past Monday to discuss the Plaquemines Liquid Terminal and address the concerns of the community residents and plan to arrange additional meetings. It provided an opportunity for question and answers and to understand the project. I'd like to thank Commissioner Salvant for sponsoring these meetings and future gatherings. I believe the response from the crowd was very good, and they felt like they had to have a chance to shape the program versus being shaped by the program. We conducted a similar community outreach for the residents of the East Bank regarding a methanol plant proposed on the CCI property at AMAX. The meeting was also well attended and quarterbacked by John Barthélemy, who sponsored this program. Commissioner Barthélemy, would you care to make a comment?
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank the director for being there along with his staff to support the importance of the project. And I would like to say that the people that was in attendance were really in favor, very supportive after the discussion that was presented from the port board, not the board, but the port director and the people that was representing the company there through CCI answered all of their questions. And I just want to say thank them very much because it's very important that we start developing the east bank of the river. And it's more important for the people because that'll give us an opportunity to include our levees on the northern end into the federal system because of the economic value of those industries that is coming. So it's a win-win situation in that area as well as an economic impact because the company itself agreed to work with the residents in that area and get them pre-trained, give them an opportunity to be considered by pre-training them for the job before the company is finishing the project. So that was very supportive, very grateful. And with that, I was very thankful to have a conversation with the people of answering the concern of the public. And General, thank you very much for that support as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would like to recognize a staff member who has achieved a huge professional milestone in her career. Shambell Riley has just completed her 4th and last test and has been awarded the Certified Public Accountant designation. I think that is fantastic. She started in 2012 in St. Okay.
Out of order.
She started this long journey in 2012, and she squeezed 4 passes into 8 attempts. So that's pretty common when you're taking these hard tests. And throughout that period, she got married, had 2 children, was there when the port was separated from the parish, and throughout 2 hurricanes, and she and John Pennison kind of held it together. So fantastic job. We're extremely proud of her accomplishments and rejoice in her good fortune, which is ours as well. And lastly, I would like to recognize another fellow employee who has attained a huge milestone in her professional career as well. And if I could ask Cheryl Tafaro to step forward, please. Cheryl will be retiring from the port after 43 years of service to our parish and our port. She started in Plaquemines Parish Water Department in 1975, which was then the Grand Prairie Levee District Dalcor Water. She remained with the Water Department through its transition to a private agency, PSG, and when the company merged back into Plaquemines Parish government in 1998, there was Cheryl. Cheryl transferred to the Port Authority in 2001 as a clerk in the billing department, and she was promoted to the accounting clerk in 2013. Today, as the matriarch of the Port Authority, Cheryl has played a major role in the day-to-day operations of the Port Administration and has taken the lead in the Port's recovery and many outstanding past due accounts. Her innovative contributions to port policy will live on, and we intend to work hard to maintain the culture of success that she started. And let me tell you what, Cheryl was not a stranger to coming to my office and shutting the door and going, "You screwed up," and tell me about it. So she loves the port, loves the folks. She really will be missed, and her coworkers are invited here today to be with her. This is a surprise. We kept, for 2 weeks, we were telling them that she had to come down here to witness an executive session that everyone in the office knew that she couldn't attend anyway. The only person been here longer than Cheryl, I would say, is Benny, the past president, and many times on our board. And Benny had a few words for you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for many, many years of service. When Sandy asked me to say a few words, I started thinking back about where you worked and how you worked and the great work that you did. And I think back to the Woodlawn building and the bat invasion, if you remember that. Yes. we had some difficult times there. Then we went to the Edna LaFrance building and we flooded out there. And eventually you wound up where you are today at the port in the Popich building. So as Sandy said, you never hesitated to hold your tongue and tell me what you thought, no matter where I was.
She got you too, huh?
Or who I was. So, but all of those things are good because it's a good dialogue to have, to be able to communicate with everybody that works together. So I want to thank you sincerely for all of your years of service and all of your years of guidance, advice, and whatever else that you had to say. So thank you very much again, and good luck on your retirement.
Thank you.
If I could ask the commission to come forward in the middle, and all her co-workers, and we'd like to get a picture. Jason, would you mind? Okay. We have a plaque to honor Cheryl. And I'd like to read this for everyone. Upon your retirement, Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District presents this certificate to Cheryl Tufaro and wishes to express its sincere thanks and gratitude for your 43 years of dedicated service. Your wisdom and commitment to excellence have long inspired all of us and will be remembered for many years to come. We wish you good health, happiness, and continued success in your retirement. From all of us.
All right, everybody set? We go first one in 3, 2, 1. Stay right there for a second. Get one flash on. Again in 3, 2, 1. All right, you good? Thank you.
You 45, Nicole? I'm 40. You got me by a year. Thank you, Sandy, for your update. Appreciate it. Any comments from the board to Director Sanders? Mr. John? Hearing none, we'll move to item 6A1, please.
An ordinance to amend and as amended readopt ordinance number 07-102, adopted May 10, 2007, to establish and initiate the collection of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District security fees and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Councilmember Edgecombe. Any comments or questions from the table? Mr. Roussel?
Yes. This is an annual increase that we normally adopt. Do you have an estimate about what this will raise the income to the port?
Sure. I didn't estimate the income. The increase is, on the break bulk, it's only 6 cents.
No, I'm talking about,
The
an
revenue
estimate,
did-
like
I
an
did
average of
not.
total estimate.
Estimated revenues, I did not.
We'll do, those estimates will be in the 2019 budget, and we can discuss it then or send you the information once we get that budget settled, but that'll be in there.
So do you have a ballpark estimate then?
I have to go back and look at the tonnages.
Well, do you know
I
what we
can get-
raised last year?
Last year was about 50.
50,000?
50,000.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 8-0. Item 6B and C will be deferred. Item 6D, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District Executive Director, Maynard J. Sandy Sanders, to extend the First Amendment to the option to lease agreement as set forth in attached Exhibit A and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second, Councilman Black. Any comments or questions from the table?
Explanation, please.
Paul, can you give a quick explanation?
I would defer to our attorney with the explanation.
Okay, sure. This is an extension of the amendment that the council approved last year with VG for the deferral of the advance rent payment until we have acquired what is called Track B3. They did make their option payment timely about a month ago, but the agreement then has been, and VG is one that had requested that they not be made to make the advance payment until we get all the properties that the agreement indicates need to be had. And that's the last remaining piece, the Track B3.
Which is the port ship,
And
correct?
where-
Okay.
And how far out are we on that, as far as acquiring that track? Is that something you can elaborate on?
Sure, yeah, right now, we're in the permitting process with the Army Corps of Engineers. We have to go through their process. The timeline is really based on when they finally provide us the permit. Once the permit happens, the title will be switched over to the port. We have continuously anticipated November. However, we cannot anticipate what the Army Corps will or will not do. So we're at their mercy. However, we're consistently making sure that they have all the information that they need so that there's no questions asked and we can move forward with getting this permit. But we're positive that we're going to receive it around that time in November, late November.
Thank you.
I have a couple. Yes, I know we've talked about this off several years now. Where are we at in the process? We have a design engineer on board, or what's the posture of the project itself? I know you say it's in permitting, but is the project completely designed at this point?
So the project, we had the preliminary designs that we submitted to the Army Corps. The initial plan was, once we received the permit, the remainder of the project with our project manager would be in the hands of Port Ship Services to essentially develop this how they see fit. However, during this process, Port Ship Services asked for us to take the construction liability portion and essentially provide them a turnkey facility that is to make them whole. And in doing so, that creates for us the need to go out for public bid for the process of construction. So essentially, once we receive the permit, what we're doing right now is having an RFQ for a firm to finish out the engineering and also do the design bid build, which allow for public bid. Then we are at the same time, we will be removing Intermat as the project manager, as the port essentially be managing this project the appropriate way to do it within state law. So that's going to be the process. Now, once the permit is approved by the Army Corps, the title will be changed over, and we'll be developing the property for PSS, but we will have title in hand once we receive the permit. So,
And so a couple of points there. I keep hearing the phrase design build. To me, what that does is it kind of like indicates that we're not going to bid the project, but your other comments are that we are going to bid the project.
no, I said design bid build, not design build. Design bid build,
Okay, so.
which creates for a public bid process for construction. It's design, you design it a certain way, you have it set up, and then you bid the construction out, and then it's built. So it's a design bid build. So there is a bid process.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, the chairman, Mr. Burt, has been very clear on that we have a bid process and that the opportunity for local companies to bid on this process. So we are focused on a design bid process, bid build process.
And so then when we get to that point, right now we're asking for an RFQ for an engineering firm. Is he going to pick up the plans that were initially designed and he's going to take those plans and move them forward?
Correct.
Or is it going to be the same engineering
No,
firm?
we're not starting over. We're going to take the initial designs, do the bid process, and do the build. That's the plan.
Okay, and then the last question I have is that the deferred rent. How much of rent money have we received, advanced rent money have we received to date?
$10 million.
10 million.
Two
And-
5 million payments, and we deferred the last two 5 million.
And today that's what this is about, deferring the next 5 million.
Yes, sir.
So it's in our best interest, and it gives us incentive to finish this project as soon as possible so that we can receive those payments.
And to clarify one more point, did we spend any of the advance rent monies yet?
No, no, sir. And I just wanted to emphasize, in light of your line of questioning, Mr. Roussel, that as soon as we do get that B3, that triggers the payment of the advance rent. I mean, it isn't like wait a year or anything like that. It's once this actually, the port gets that property.
So once the title's in our name, the title is in our name now, isn't it, for the property?
The one that we have, but we're going to be exchanging that with PSS, who has an operating facility at Track B3, and that's the one VG is interested in. It's further upriver and connects with the property it wants to exercise the rest of the option on.
So is that title been transferred to the port?
Yes, exactly. B3 will be exchanged for the property that we currently own that's unimproved, and we'll have the new facility on.
But it hasn't been transferred yet. He's saying.
That is accurate.
Once the permit
Right.
goes through,
Okay.
which we anticipate by the end of November.
And so once this is complete, then the $10 million will come?
That's when we will present that to VG to let them know that we believe we've fulfilled every, responsibility we have, and that we want that $10 million.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Alvan?
Matthews. I heard you just mention that the bidding process on the contracts, utilizing local companies. Is there any consideration being given to minority groups?
Well, absolutely, that would be, DBEs will absolutely be part of consideration. Any type of public bid process that we have, that will absolutely be part of consideration. Yes.
Okay, so it will be part of the process. I just want to make sure.
Oh,
Because,
well-
first of all, if we're going to utilize local groups, and I'm all for the local groups that Mr. Byrd is referring to, but I just want to make sure that it's done equitable and,
We'll do it the right way as the law requires, absolutely.
Ms. Audrey, to address your question, to the extent that state law will allow us to do that, it's the public bid law that we've got to follow, and to the extent that we can do any of those things, we hear the council and we will apply those. As I sit here right now, I don't know all of those particular points, but I hear the council saying, try to keep it local, and to the extent that we can enter into a DBE, let's do so. I've just got to do a little more research on that particular point.
okay. I just would like you to keep that in mind. Just-
I understand completely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, Mr. Thalamy?
Yeah, my thing is related to the bid process as the lowest bid on project.
You're asking, what the project is, who is the lowest bidder on the construction side?
Yeah,
Yep.
how it's being done.
Yeah, within state bid laws.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
saying the
Yeah,
lowest bidder.
within
Right.
state bid laws.
The
That's the
lowest-
process.
Maybe outside.
I think-
Well, my reason for saying that, there are no conditions in that process that state that you can look within the perimeter to give a business that's in the parish the process to have to do the job with maybe a 0.5% higher or 2% higher than the lowest bidder.
Okay.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay. What I can tell you is I'm aware of the requirement that you're supposed to give it to the lowest responsive bid. And those words have meaning. To the extent that what you're notifying me of, that you can also take into account like some sort of factoring to consider a local contractor, I will do the research.
Yes, because anything that have a direct impact on economic impact in the community where the projects are being implemented, processed, I think there's a fine line in there that can be utilized.
I appreciate,
all I have.
yeah, I appreciate that, and I will look into that.
Yes. Besides correct me if I'm wrong here, there exists an option contract between the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, and the other party to that contract would be Venture Global Plaquemines LNG LLC, correct? Okay. What other contracts are signed with either the parent company, Venture Global LNG Inc., and/or Venture Global Plaquemines LNG LLC?
I don't know. I don't know.
So no other contracts with,
No. I answered your question, I don't know.
okay. And would either of the directors know of any other contracts?
I don't know of any other contract.
We don't know any other contract. The question was answered.
Okay, so no other contracts, okay.
No, no, that isn't what I said. I will repeat myself. I don't know.
Hey, let
Well,
me-
this is the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District meeting, so I'm just asking the Port Harbor and Terminal District.
I know, but you're trying to assume that the answer is no when the response was, I don't know.
So you can't tell the public if there are any other contracts signed with Venture Global? You don't,
None that I'm aware of.
Wait, let me clarify this question. Are you asking, does Venture Global have contracts with somebody else, or do they have contracts with Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District?
only with Plaquemines.
Well, then
Port Harbor
ask the
Terminal.
question directly. And if they don't know, then I have a problem with it.
Does
I'm unaware
Plaquemines
of
Parish
any
Port
other
Harbor and Terminal-
contract. I'm
I'll
unaware of-
restate the question.
Okay.
Does Plaquemines Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District have any other contracts besides the option, a mere option contract, with either Venture Global Plaquemines LNG LLC or the parent company, Venture Global LNG Inc.?
I believe the answer is no, but I don't know, I'm unaware of any other ones other than that one contract with the amendment that we're talking about today.
Okay, let me just interject this. I think it's a fair question, and I don't want to get into the weeds and the politics of all of this and the arguments that go on between the administration and the port, but I do think that it deserves a direct question, and whether Mr. Matthews wants to do all the shenanigans of all of this, I don't agree with that. It's a simple question. He says he doesn't believe they have one. He asked the question. Let's move on.
And it's been answered, so.
We answered the question, one, and then two, if there was some other contract with Venture Global, the board would know about that. So we answered the question. Mr. Chairman?
No, I think what the president's trying to ask is, what contracts does Venture Global have to support the project? And I would say that information is between Venture Global and Venture Global. We can't control what contracts they sign for their project.
No, wait a minute. Let's not get into weeds again. The simple question was rephrased with Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District. I don't want to waste all day here with the chess game. The question was, Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District has no other contracts other than the option. And if that's the answer, let's move on.
Okay,
agree.
let me phrase it this way. Is there a rental agreement between Plaquemines Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District, or a lease agreement signed with either Venture Global Plaquemines LNG LLC or Venture Global LNG Incorporated?
There's an option agreement. There is no lease agreement that's been signed.
Okay, and there's no rental agreement, correct?
There's no rental agreement. That is correct.
Okay, thank you. To date, how much taxpayer money has it been expended in the purchase of, principally in the purchase of land on this project? I know there have been other taxpayer monies expended by Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, but to date, how much money has been
Mr. President, I had to
expended?
stop you there. Let's get back to the lease payment question. We're not here to discuss cost of the land. Let's stick to the item agenda, please.
Commissioner Burt, with all due respect, I think the taxpayers of this parish have a right to know how much money is being expended
If you'd
on
like to
this.
discuss that, you can get it on the next agenda. We're happy to discuss that. Any further comments on this item? Hearing none, the machine is open. I'm gonna get into a pissing match. The ordinance is adopted 9-0. We'll move to item 7B, please.
Discussion regarding internal and external port audits, Commissioner Roussel.
Yes, at this time, I'm going to defer the item because there are ongoing audits in the port, and when those audits are or that audit is complete, then we'll discuss them all at Global, unless you want to report on the external audit. But at this time, I'm going to defer the item, waiting for that final audit that's being compiled now.
Okay. So item 7B will be deferred, or withdrawn, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, deferred. If we could move back to item 2A, please.
A receipt and discussion of attorney-client privilege communications pursuant to LA R.S. 42:17A10 in regard to potential property acquisition and related issues. Attorney J. Kendall Rathburn, Commissioner Burt.
I will offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Machine is open. And executive session is 9-0 at 1:31. This time we come out of executive session at 2:25 with no action taken. At this time, if we can revert back to item number 5, please.
Introduction of resolutions and ordinances.
Have none.
Mr. Juneau,
Any introduction?
for the port.
Not for this, we're in a port meeting.
Oh, no.
No.
Williams, Mr. Roussel? Ms. Salvant? I have 3. A resolution authorizing Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to extend the current consulting agreement with Latter and Bloom and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the Executive Director, Sandy Sanders, to extend the current agreement with Mercury Public Affairs to provide consulting, advisory, and lobbying services regarding port representation at the federal level and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And a resolution establishing the date, time, and place of public hearings on the proposed 2019 operating budget and capital improvement budget as submitted by the Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to authorize the Council Secretary to place the necessary public notice in the Plaquemines Gazette and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Any, Mr. Edgecombe? Mr. Black, any intros for the report? Next item, please.
Item 8, approval of the August 23, 2018 minutes.
Offered by Ms. Williams, there a second? Second by Ms. Salvant. Comments or questions? Machine is open. Kurt?
Get it again.
The minutes are adopted 9-0. Mr. Edgecombe makes a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williams. Machine is open. It's lacking. Chairman, it's 9-0 at 2:28. We'll take a brief recess before we transition to the council. Thank you.